So by way of introduction, there's a couple of different videos in this little series. I'm going to break them up to make it easy for people. Broadly speaking, there's one on ascending the mast with all of the mechanical aids, Jumars, mechanical prussiks, climbers, etriers, and when you're climbing 2 halyards. That's one way. Then in another video, I'm going to show how to climb the mast old school, using only ropes and only a very few carabiners to ascend the 2 halyards, one working halyard and one as a backup. Then I'm going to have a bit of a discussion on what do you do if you've only got 1 halyard, how do you protect yourself, and you do that using a prussik around the mast as the backup. And then the last case, how the hell do you climb a mast up and down if there's no halyards going to the top? And we're going to go through that as well. So the other little piece of the puzzle is I'm also, there will be a clip on how to, if you don't have a climbing harness, how you can make one out of a dock line or a halyard as well. So we're going to cover a lot of ground, and take your time, pause, listen, pause, study, and then try it for yourself. And once again, this is inherently dangerous. The consequences of making a mistake can be dire. Could be broken bones, or worse, could be death. It is serious. Climbing the mast is one of the most dangerous things that we do as sailors. That's all. And so boat safety starts up here and through our implementation. I've been a rock climber, mountaineer for 41 years. I've actually been rock climbing almost as long as I've been sailing. Of course, I had about 20 years where I was concentrating on rock climbing more than sailing, but I've spent a lot of time on big walls in Yosemite Valley and other places around the world. So what I'm going to show you here is how a rock climber would climb the mast, and it involves climbing equipment. It's fast, it's simple, it's safe. You do have to put an investment into the climbing equipment, which we'll talk about. And then I'm going to show you, the same kind of thing with the minimum amount of equipment to stay safe. And you won't need to have any of the fancy mechanical clamps. We'll be using a prussik. I can show you how to make your own climbing harness as well out of a halyard or a rope. So we'll get to that. So the first thing we'll do is, see, I got the gear laid out here. We'll go through the gear required first for as a climber would do it. And personally, I find that is the easiest, the safest, the fastest. I already owned the equipment in advance, so a small investment would be required to get this gear to climb the mast. That being said, some of this stuff is 30 years old or older even, that I now use on the boat to climb the mast. So it'll last you the rest of your life, especially since we don't tend to climb the mast that often. Anyway, we'll start with the kind of the gear list with some of the specialty gear, and then we'll have a part 2 showing the minimalist approach, minimal capital expenditure, with some very simple things that will allow you to do the same thing. First and foremost these are mechanical ascenders. These are a Petzl brand mechanical clamps for ascending ropes. You know, they are, you can see they're quite well used. They feature a cam and a spring load that I'll show you later, but that goes onto the rope, and then you clip into that and you slide it up the rope. So you got two of those. You have a GriGri, which is a device that it's actually for belaying, but you can use that to get down to rappel. You can also use it as a backup on your backup line. I have a separate device which is called a shunt, which is I put on an extra halyard and clip to it so that that is my backup. It's a mechanical prussik. You can also use a prussik knot. You got two what I call daisy chains, which is these looped lines here, minimum of two. And then we also have what are called etriers or aiders, which are basically ladders made out of sling. I've got a red one and I've got a blue one, you can see here. I also have a climbing harness, and you can buy a climbing harness at any store. I actually prefer the climbing harness over the bosun's chair for safety reasons. One is if you go upside down when you're wearing a climbing harness, you won't fall to the deck. Whereas in a bosun's chair, you could fall out of a bosun's chair from the top of the mast, which of course would be problematic. I got a number of carabiners, some lockers. You know, some of these have been on the boat for 10 years. Climbing carabiners do suffer in the salt environment, and it does, sometimes you gotta get the WD-40 and loosen them up, or put them in a pail of water and then get the WD to make sure that the gates are all working. I've got one locking carabiner right here. Ideally you would have more than one locker, but that's essentially the gear to climb the mast using climbing equipment, which once again I find to be the most simple and the fastest, as well as the safest. And then we'll get to how to rig it up. So as we get rolling here, when you're going to climb the mast solo, you want to have a one working line that you're going to have your senders on. This will be the red line in this case. And then you want to have a backup. Now this is the black line. The first thing you want to see is that both lines are clear all the way to the top of the mast. You don't want to have a line going around a spreader or something. If it's not clear, then you'll have to unclip to get around a spreader. So we got double halyards, and of course I've got all different halyards on my boat, which I highly recommend, so that if it's dark and you can't see, which line is which, you can identify the color. So the first case, the working line is red. It comes out of the mast. First thing I do is I clove hitch the winch. That's a clove hitch around there, and then it comes down and it comes to a cleat for a secondary anchor, and then a tertiary anchor. So it's actually tied off in three places. Very unlikely for all three of those to fail. Same on the other side, on the black halyard. It is clove hitched to this winch, and then it comes down to a secondary cleat in series, and then a third one. Again, unlikely for all three of those to fail just under body weight, or even in a shock load scenario. So super strong. The idea being you want to be backed up You want to have each halyard backed up multiple times before you get rolling. Okay, so the first step is you put the harness on the key element here. It goes on like a pair of pants, you know, one leg in each leg loop. The waistband, key element here is that on these old style is this has to be doubled back for it to hold. The idea here is that it's over top of the hip bones, so if you do fall upside down, this is not going to slide off your legs. That's the key element. You know, bosun's chairs can be very useful for tools and things like that. However, it is easier to fall out of a bosun's chair, and you should be independently tied. You can use a climbing harness and a bosun's chair for double security. In any event, climbing harness, first step. Then the mechanical clamps. Again, these are called Jumars or Petzls. Those are the brand names. Essentially, they are mechanical ascenders, and they're as simple as this. Pull the spring loaded back, feed the rope in, and it'll clip, and then basically it can only slide one way. That's effectively how you climb the rope. And then if you want to get it off the rope or slide it down, you can pull it back and get it off the rope. So you got two of those. Got a second one here, exactly the same idea. It's as quick and as simple as that. You know, this is all in real time here. So the next thing you do is you get your little sling ladders or rope ladders. Climbers call these etriers, or etriers is the French word. Very useful. Carabiner. Okay, so you got one on each leg loop, and one on each Jumar. And ideally, you know, this is the one for the right hand, because the action is with the thumb, and this one is the left hand, so your thumb is on the right side while you're using them. The next thing is you want to be clipped to the high one on a daisy chain like this, and then this comes and clips right to your harness. So now I am attached to the top one, and then the bottom one I use an independent carabiner, and I clip straight into this one here on the low end. So the idea with the low one is effectively as soon as I slide it up, I can let go, and I'm hanging from the lower one. Slide this one up. So at any moment in time, I am ready to go. I can let go with both hands, and that locks off. So that's the working line. And then the backup, as I mentioned, I have a mechanical prussik for the backup line, which you can purchase. It's called a shunt, and this effectively slides one way, and then it locks if it's down. So I'm connected to that one with another tether, another line, and so that's my completely independent connection to my backup rope. And so that thing, so I'll just slide that up. If any of this system fails, then I'm locked here, so that will effectively just slide up on its own. And so that is essentially the setup now for climbing the mast single-handed. And we'll just show you the first couple of moves. So the first thing to do is get the stretch out of the line. Get that up as high as you can. And now you're putting your foot in the first rope ladder, and you know, brace yourself against the mast, and then up we go. And now there's the first. That's the first move. And I'm up, and I'm using my feet on the mast, and up we go. And effectively, I'm just going to repeat that move all the way up. I slide the mechanical prussik up the rope like that, follows me, and I go all the way up. And so to get down, you know, you can reverse the whole process to come down. You know, I'll also show you how to use the, don't forget to bring this down with you if you're coming down. I will show you a way to abseil using the GriGri shortly here. So again, there we go, give myself enough slack. So the GriGri, if you're done climbing the mast, so just to show the GriGri up close, it's got the handle, it flips open on a hinge, and the idea there, so it shows the little climber, and then it shows the brake hand, so climber and brake hand. So this is the rope that's going up, and so that's the rope going to the top of the mast in my left hand. You bring that back, you clip that on, and you just put it onto your harness, and now you can, so that is now locking. It's hands-free locking. And then to rappel, I'll just pull it right up. Well, now if I'm coming down, I just pull this lever and it lets slack through. Now, you can also use this as an ascender instead of one Jumar. You can have one Jumar and one of these. I like to have the optionality of the two Jumars plus this, and also the shunt. And just to show you the shunt, which is the mechanical prussik. Again, it's fairly simple. You just push that through, and then you feed the rope in. The lat comes back through, and then now this thing will slide only one way and lock on the way down. So effectively, those are all the, call it the fancy tools, the technical tools to ascend a rope, to ascend a mast single-handed safely. The idea being that you've always got one backup and one working line that go right to the top of the mast. And when you get to the top with the two clamps, and you put your GriGri on, you rappel down. In the next section, I'm going to show you how to do this without the mechanical clamps, without the Jumars, without the mechanical ascender clamps, without the shunt, without the GriGri, and I'm going to show you the old school approach with the minimal amount of gear that's just as safe. It's not as simple. It's a little harder. You gotta know your prussik knots and things like that. But we'll get to all that. Okay, just to give you the long view here, I'll just go up to the first spreader so you can get a little flavor for just how quickly this can be done. I'm all rigged up as previously discussed. I got my mechanical ascender here, and the mechanical clamps, and just clear the line so that it's as simple as possible. You know, running nice and clean, and you got to sort of brace yourself a bit with your feet, but it's up, one at a time. Keep that line clean, and I'm up. Now I'm going to slide up my mechanical clamp, and it's literally this simple. I can hang anywhere I need to do work. Not going to the top, I can rest, catch my breath. You know, I'll often use this foot outside of this etrie, but if I do need to, to be stable, I can put my foot into here. I don't necessarily need it, but I can. and up we go again. Okay, don't forget the backup. All the way up. Once you know, I go literally a foot at a time, and you know, if you're offshore, the boat's bouncing around like hell. I'd be probably wearing a helmet right now. I have a helmet down below, and at the dock, I don't. We're getting up to the first spreader here. You can see that took, you know, literally very little effort. I won't go to the top, but it's just because it's more of the same. But to come down, I'm going to use GriGri, and I'll just, you know, again, this is all in real time here. So I'm going to put it on the working line, and literally, you know, locking Diener for this, and you close the gate. So the trick here now is I got to get my weight onto the GriGri, and take that off. Now I'm on the GriGri, and so now I'm. This is a hands-free device on the GriGri, and now I'm gonna get my feet out of the stirrups, take off the top clamp, keeping in mind that I'm still attached twice to the boat. One here on my shunt, one here on the GriGri. So as I'm going down, I'll slide that guy down, and now it's literally as simple as pulling this lever to get down, keeping your balance. Don't use your feet, use your hand. You can let go. It's a hands-free. Bring it down, and then bring the shunt with you, the backup, and we are now rappelling back down to the deck. And that is how to, you know, fastest and safest way that I know how to ascend the mast in all conditions. Simply, you know, efficiently. You literally, I got up to the first spreader there in a couple minutes while I was talking, not even trying to go fast. And here I am now, back on the deck, safe and sound, all in one piece. If you do decide to buy this gear, you will have it for the rest of your life. Like, you won't wear it out climbing the mast unless you're a commercial guy that does mast work. But and as quickly I am can get out of this here fast. Boom, boom, boom. You know, a few clicks of the carabiners, and I am up and down. So you can probably get to the top of the mast in, you know, probably 5 minutes, 6 minutes to the top of the mast if the boat's not bouncing around. Look, on a couple of points on safety here. Climbing the mast single-handed is inherently a dangerous activity, and you need to pay attention to the details. You know, if you are going to attempt some of this, you know, I would stay low to the ground, make sure you got your systems dialed, and go up, you know, 3 or 4 feet, and then come down. Make sure that you're fluent in going up and down in the first 5-6 feet of the mast. With whatever method that you're using, I'm gonna show you today several different methods, but they are dangerous for the sailor, for the single-hander. You know, it's possible that ascending the mast is, well, it is one of the most dangerous elements of our sport. Ascending the mast, period. Ascending the mast single-handed adds a whole other suite of hazards and dangers into the mix. So it is dangerous. Practice is everything. Mindfulness is everything. The consequences of even a short fall could be fatal. Could be a broken leg. It could be, you know, wheelchair. It could be a wheelchair. And if you're, particularly if you're single-handed, there's nobody else around. As you know, that just escalates the nature of the consequences. The consequences of a mistake climbing the mast are real. You know what? If we blow a jibe, or we're over canvassed, or even if we hit a rock, with our boat, you know what? The potential consequences to falling from more than a foot, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the mast down to the deck, very serious business. I just want to say that practice is everything. And if you're not sure, I would say don't do it. Talk to somebody, get some coaching, have somebody walk you through it. It is dangerous. Just want to say that.